I'm 81 years old. Last Sunday, my daughter Rebecca called me from Cleveland. Her voice had that tone, you know the one, careful, soft, like she was about to say something she'd been rehearsing for weeks. "Mom, we need to talk about your living situation." I didn't even let her finish. I said, "Rebecca, I already know." Because at this age, you learn something fast. When your children start talking about safety, they're really talking about control. I've been circling this conversation for months. Assisted living, caregivers. Somewhere safer. Let me tell you something no one tells you straight. Those aren't the only options. And sometimes, they're the worst ones. If you're younger, maybe you're thinking about your parents. If you're my age, you're lying awake at night thinking about yourself. I've lived through all of it. And I'm going to tell you the truth. No sugarcoating, no polite version. After my husband, Thomas, passed, everything changed. 48 years of marriage. Then one morning, silence. At first I told myself I was fine. I could cook, clean, pay bills. I even enjoyed the quiet. At least that's what I told people. But then the cracks started showing. Small things. I'd get winded walking up the stairs. My hands shook opening a jar. I'd walk into a room and forget why I was there. And one morning, I slipped getting out of the shower. Didn't fall. Caught myself on the towel bar. But that moment stayed with me. That night, lying in bed, I thought, what if next time I don't catch myself? So I did what everyone tells you to do. I called my daughter, asked if I could stay with her in the suburbs outside Columbus for a while. She said yes immediately. Of course she did. The first week? It felt like a movie. Family dinners, grandkids laughing, noise in the house again. For a moment, I felt alive. Then real life came back. Rebecca and her husband Andrew worked all day. The kids had school, sports, friends. By the second week, I was alone again. Only difference? I wasn't alone in my own home anymore. I was alone in someone else's. And then, the little things started. "Mom, maybe less salt, okay? Mom, can you turn the TV down? Mom, we'll be out Saturday. You'll be fine, right?" They weren't cruel. They were just living their lives, and I was in the middle of it. One night, I heard Rebecca on the phone with her sister Melissa. She didn't know I could hear her. "I know it's the right thing, but I'm exhausted. I can't even relax anymore." That sentence, it hit harder than anything else, because in that moment, I realized something most people don't admit. Living with family doesn't always fix loneliness. Sometimes it makes it worse. You're surrounded by people and still feel invisible. After 3 months, I told her I was going home. She worried. Of course she did. But I couldn't live like that, feeling like a responsibility instead of a person. Back home, I felt free and terrified because nothing had changed. The stairs were still hard. Cooking still drained me. My hands still shook. One afternoon, I tried to change a light bulb, and I couldn't. Just stood there, staring at it, realizing this is how it begins. So I tried the next solution. Caregivers. The first one, Linda, nice woman, mid-50s, efficient. At first it helped, but then came the bills, $3,200 a month for part-time help. My Social Security barely covered a third. And then the little things. I like dishes done immediately. She liked to soak them. I fold towels a certain way. She had her own system. Doesn't sound like much? It is when it's your house, because suddenly you're adjusting to someone else in your own home. Then Linda left. Family emergency. Next person. Different habits. The one after that. Gone in a month. Every time someone new walked in, I had to explain my entire life again. I was exhausted, and still going broke. So I stopped. Then came the final option. Assisted living. Rebecca found a place near Dayton. Clean, good reviews, medical staff on site, $3,000 a month. Just try it for a month, Mom. I said yes. Not because I wanted to, because I was tired of fighting. The day I moved in felt like checking into a hotel, except I wasn't leaving. First few days were fine. People were friendly. We played cards, ate together. But by the end of the first week, I felt it, that quiet pressure. Wake up at 6:30, breakfast at 7:30, lunch at noon, dinner at 5. I've never eaten dinner at 5 in my life. I like reading late, always have. But at 9 p.m. the hallway lights dimmed. And if my light was still on, knock. Dorothy, it's time to sleep. Time to sleep? I'm 81 years old. I've made my own decisions for 8 decades, and now someone was telling me when to go to bed. One night I tried to step outside. Beautiful air, clear sky. A staff member stopped me. Outdoor hours ended at 7. Safety policy. Safety policy. Those 2 words? That was my cage. And here's the part no one tells you. I wasn't even that sick. I could walk, think, function, but I was living like I'd already lost everything. After 3 weeks, I called Rebecca. I'm leaving. Mom, you said a month. This isn't living. This is waiting to die. The day I walked out, the sun felt brighter. The air felt real again. I was free. But back home, same problems, same fear, same limits. And for a few days, I just sat by the window, watching life pass by, trying to figure out what was left for me. Then something small happened, and it changed everything. One afternoon, I was walking to a little grocery store 3 blocks away. I passed my neighbor, Jessica Parker, early 40s, always rushing, always stressed. She was on the phone, pacing. I can't leave work again, Tom. I'll lose my job. She hung up, and I saw it. That look, the same one I'd had. Overwhelmed. I walked over. Jessica, if you ever need someone to pick up Lily from school, I pass by there every day. She blinked at me. I couldn't ask you to do that. You're not asking, I'm offering. The next day, I picked up Lily, 8 years old, talks nonstop, about school, friends, her drawings, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel old. I felt needed. That evening, Jessica knocked on my door, holding a plate of food. I made extra. I said, You don't have to do that. She smiled. You're helping me. Let me help you. And just like that, everything changed. I walked Lily home every day. Jessica helped me set up grocery delivery. Her brother fixed my leaking sink. Lily taped drawings all over my fridge, started calling me Miss Dorothy. One night, Jessica said, You've changed our lives. I was drowning before. I looked at her and said, You've changed mine too. Because I finally understood what I'd been missing. It wasn't care. It wasn't safety. It wasn't services. It was purpose. I didn't need someone to take over my life. I needed to still be part of one. So listen to me carefully, because this matters. You don't have to choose between being completely independent or completely dependent. There's something in between. You can accept help without giving up control. You can contribute without exhausting yourself. I spent thousands of dollars on care and still felt alone. Now, I spend almost nothing, and I feel more connected than I have in years. Because money buys services. It does not buy relationships. Jessica doesn't help me because I pay her. She helps me because I help her. That's different. That's human. I'm 81 years old. I live alone. But I am not lonely. And I'm not waiting for the day I can't anymore. I'm living now, on my terms. Maybe one day I'll need more help. Maybe I'll end up in a facility after all. But not yet. Not while I still have something to give. And you do too. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. If you want to sit with me again, I'll be right here, still figuring it out, still living, still me. But let me tell you the part most people don't say out loud, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. After everything I just told you, after I found that rhythm with Jessica and Lily, after I started feeling like myself again, the fear didn't disappear, not completely. There are still nights when the house is too quiet, when the clock sounds louder than it should, when I sit in my chair and think, what happens when this stops working? Because aging doesn't pause just because you found a good system. Your body keeps changing. Your energy keeps shifting. And one day, you wake up and something that was easy yesterday isn't anymore. A few weeks ago, I dropped a glass in the kitchen. Simple thing, but my hand just didn't grip like it used to. It shattered across the floor, and I just stood there, looking at it, not moving, because suddenly my mind went somewhere dark. What if I fall right now? What if I can't get up? That fear, it's real, and if anyone tells you they're not afraid at this age, they're lying. But here's the difference now. I'm not facing it alone anymore. I called Jessica, didn't even finish the sentence. She said, "I'm coming." 15 minutes later, she was in my kitchen, cleaning up glass, talking to me like nothing was wrong, like I wasn't fragile, like I wasn't a problem to solve. And that's when it hit me again. Support doesn't have to mean surrender. You see, the world tries to put us into categories: independent, dependent, capable, incapable. But real life, it's messy. It's somewhere in the middle. I still wake up and make my own coffee. I still decide what I do with my day. I still walk to that little store when I can. But now, I also have people who would notice if I didn't open my curtains. People who would knock on my door. People who would care. That's the balance no one talks about. Not full independence. Not full dependence. Interdependence. And I wish someone had told me that earlier. Would have saved me months of feeling lost. Years, maybe. Let me tell you something else. Something a little harder to hear. When my daughter Rebecca first brought up assisted living, I was angry, defensive. I thought she was trying to push me out of my own life. But now, I see it differently. She wasn't trying to control me. She was scared. Scared I'd fall. Scared I'd be alone. Scared she'd get a phone call one day that she couldn't undo. And when you're someone's child, fear makes you do things that don't always make sense. So if you're watching this and thinking about your parents, listen to me carefully. Don't just ask, where should they live? Ask, how can they still feel useful? Because taking away someone's responsibility might make their life easier, but it can also make it feel empty. And if you're my age, and you're watching this quietly, maybe not telling anyone how worried you really are, I want you to hear this. You are not done. You are not just someone who needs help. You are someone who still has something to give. Maybe it's not what it used to be. Maybe you can't do everything you once did, but you can still matter. And that changes everything. These days, my routine isn't perfect. Some mornings I wake up tired. Some days I don't go out at all. But at 3 p.m., I still walk to that school. And when Lily runs toward me, waving her little backpack, like I'm the most important person she'll see all day, for a moment, I forget every fear, every limitation, every label people try to put on me. Because in that moment, I'm not an elderly woman, I'm Dorothy. And that's all I ever wanted to keep. So no, I don't have everything figured out. I'm still adjusting, still learning, still making mistakes. But I stopped waiting for the perfect solution, because it doesn't exist. What exists? are small connections, small systems, small acts of help, going both ways. And sometimes that's more powerful than any facility, any service, any plan. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Don't disappear before you have to. Don't hand over your life just because it's getting harder. Don't assume the only choices are the ones people keep repeating. There is another way. It might be messy. It might not look impressive on paper. But if it lets you stay yourself a little longer, it's worth it. I'm Dorothy Miller. I'm 81 years old. And I'm still here. Still useful. Still connected. Still choosing my life. One day at a time. And if you come back tomorrow, I'll still be here. Figuring it out. Just like you.